A lot of times, men that are deemed controlling or narcissists are actually men that have a parental wound that manifests itself into controlling behavior. So the other day I got this DM and the person was asking me, how do I deal with abandonment issues? Basically, they didn't grow up with their mom or their dad, and they're trying to figure out how to heal when dealing with those. And I thought it would be a great topic for me to bring to YouTube, for me to bring to Safe Haven, to help you guys understand how to deal with abandonment issues, especially as Black men. One thing that I will say is that a YouTube video is not enough. If you're looking for more healing, if you're looking to get into therapy, if you're looking for a community of Black men, join Safe Haven at expressyourselfblackman.com/safe-haven. That is where you'll be able to join. We have low-cost therapy. We have a medical concierge service. We have community forums. We have topics where we talk about these different issues that we go through, like abandonment issues, like attachment styles, like depression, like anxiety. And we talk about that inside of Safe Haven, and we do the work to heal and also put you inside of therapy as part of our low-cost therapy program. So with that being said, let's get into abandonment issues, right? So a common misconception about abandonment issues is that the only way that you can get abandonment issues is by not having one of your parents around. So like one of your parents is absent. But that is not true, because I grew up with a heavy fear of abandonment, and I had both of my parents present. The reason why I grew up with this fear of abandonment is because I didn't get the physical love that I was looking for at home. So my mom was always working, right? And that's what normally happens in Black households. You have one of the parents that's really not at home as often as the child would like them to be, so they're not getting their needs met. They being the child, they being you. So that's where these abandonment issues can start to come up, is because you're not getting your needs met, right? And they manifest into unhealthy attachment styles. I won't go crazy on attachment styles today. That's for a separate video. You can watch some of our other videos where I talk about attachment styles. But for today, I want to specifically focus on abandonment issues and what they look like, right? So for me, like I said, I grew up without having that physical love, and I had that fear of abandonment. And so what it manifested into when I got into my teens and I was old enough to finally start dating and looking for partners was me really looking for a woman or a girl at that time to fill that void. And I did not know it, but that's what I was doing subconsciously, right? I was looking for someone to come in to fill that void, to give me that external validation and that physical love that I wish I got at home. And that's how my fear of abandonment, my lack of physical love, my unhealthy attachment style manifested in relationships, specifically romantic relationships. And then it manifested even more once I actually got into my first real relationship when I was like 14, 15, with me having insecurity and a lot of issues with trying to control my girl. So I was so insecure about the fact that I felt like she was out of my league. I felt like at any point in time that she would just leave me. And so I thought the route to take was to control what she was doing. And a lot of this was subconscious. It wasn't conscious decision making that was leading me to this. It was subconscious, me thinking that, okay, if I tell her not to do this, then she won't attract so much attention from other men, and then she'll stay with me. That way I can continue to receive the love that I'm desperately craving from this woman. A lot of times, men that are deemed controlling or narcissists are actually men that have a parental wound that manifests itself into controlling behavior. So that's why I don't like where sometimes on social media we just see people just say, oh, he's a narcissist. Like, are you sure that's what it is? Because there's a lot of digging that you need to do. There's a lot of questions that you need to ask before you qualify or before you identify somebody as a narcissist. And I think on social media, we just have these buzzwords or these key terms that people just keep on using. Not everybody's a narcissist, man. Some people really have parental wounds. They have trauma that has them acting out in maladaptive ways based on what they learned from that trauma, right? And then that can look like narcissistic behavior, but it may be something completely different. What's also very interesting about abandonment issues is that there's a lot of men that people please because they're scared of losing the people closest to them. And that is another way in which fear of abandonment or abandonment issues can manifest itself in men. You have men that are people pleasing under the guise of providing, because at their core, they feel like if they do not provide, if they do not people please, then that means that people will leave them, and they have this fear of being left. They have this fear of abandonment that's deeply rooted in them from their childhood. And so they can't help themselves but to do for others. They can't help themselves but to sabotage and not worry about themselves at all. And so that's another way in which abandonment issues manifest in men, right? And then the last way that I want to talk about is there's a lot of men that don't know what it feels like to be loved. There's a lot of men that don't know what it feels like to be loved, right? And so when they get into relationships with someone that's very loving, that cares about them, they may not know what to do. They may self-sabotage. It may be hard for them to express themselves. They may cheat. All of these different things. I'm not trying to justify the behavior. I'm offering an explanation as to why those things happen. There's a lot of men that really don't understand what it means to be loved because they never got that growing up. So love is foreign to them. Love is truly foreign to them. And these men need to do the work, but a lot of times, again, it's subconscious and they don't even understand what's going on the subconscious level because they have not done that self-reflection. They have not done that healing. They have not done that shadow work to be able to understand what's going on a subconscious level, right? So I talked a lot about what abandonment issues look like, how they manifest. I talked to Earolf about that. I want to talk about how you can actually heal when dealing with abandonment issues, right? The main thing that you want to do is you want to understand where your abandonment issues come from. Is it because you didn't have a parent growing up? Is it because you had a super critical parent? Is it because one of your parents was always working? Is it because you didn't get the physical love you needed growing up? Identify where your abandonment issues came from. And then the second thing that I want you to do right after you identify where they came from is I want you to make a list of everything that you wish you received growing up as a child. And for a lot of us, that list is gonna look like more affection, spending more time with my parents, more affirmations like I love you, I'm proud of you, I'm happy that you're my son or you're my daughter, I'm happy that you're my child. For a lot of us, that's what's gonna be on that list. And then what I want you to do is use that list as a guide for how you treat yourself and how you treat your inner child. Because what you're basically doing when you do that is you're reparenting yourself.
To me, that's important.
And that's very, very, very important for anybody that's dealing with parental wounds. It's important for you to reparent yourself. And reparenting yourself is basically the process of giving your inner child, right, which is basically your younger self that lives within your subconscious, giving your inner child everything that you needed growing up. And the way that you understand what you needed growing up is by making that list of things that you wish you got from your parents, right? And then you reference that list and you continue to display those things to yourself every day, right? Every day is a continuous process of reparenting yourself to make sure that you receive those things. And what you're doing is you're stitching up that void. Instead of looking for other people to fill that, instead of self-sabotaging, you're then doing the work to make sure that you fill that void for yourself. And I wish I knew this before I hopped into all those relationships. I wish I knew this before I went serial dating. I wish I knew this before I started dating, but I didn't. So I talked about your inner child earlier. I know a lot of you may not know what your inner child is, but your inner child is basically your younger self and all its unmet needs, everything that it's looking for, and it lives within your subconscious. And that inner child is wounded, especially if you have abandonment issues. That means that you have parental wounds that are housed inside your inner child. And when we talked about subconscious earlier, like I talked about being in a relationship and not understanding that subconsciously I was being controlling and all these different things. What was really happening was my inner child was crying out. I needed help. I needed to be able to deal with my insecurity. I needed to be able to deal with my unhealthy attachment style. But because I wasn't aware of my subconscious and I wasn't aware of what my inner child was looking for, I let it manifest or I let it do whatever it wanted inside of my relationship, right? A lot of us think that we're making conscious decisions, but really what we're doing is we're allowing our subconscious to rule the decisions that we actually make. We think that we're operating from logic, right? And we think we're putting logic over feelings, but truly we're putting feelings over logic when we don't understand our subconscious.
Got it.
That's the truth of the matter. And logic says, if that's the case, then you should understand your subconscious and you should do the work to speak to your inner child so that you can make sure that it's not out here messing up your relationships, messing up your life. One of the biggest things that I did in order for me to heal my inner child was speak to my inner child. The biggest thing that I did was speak to my inner child. I had a lot of different affirmations that I used to basically help me. And what I basically did was understand the list of things that I was looking for. Remember, I said I was looking for more affirmations, or I said it's common for you to want more affirmation.
It's fine.
Especially if you grew up without one of your parents at home, or with one of your parents that was working a lot, or with a super critical parent that never told you that they loved you or didn't tell you that they loved you enough, it's common for you to want more affirmation. So that's your inner child basically saying, hey, I want to be seen. And the way that you do that, the way that you make sure that your inner child is seen is by affirming your inner child, sitting with yourself and speaking to yourself in a way in which you wish your parents spoke to you. I love you. I'm proud of you. You are successful. You are powerful. You are safe and secure with me at all times, right? And this is basically you speaking to your inner child. A great way in which you can speak to your inner child and make sure that you're saying it with intention is by pretending that you were speaking to a child, actually. Like literally pretend that you were speaking to a younger child while you do this. And that will help you when you're saying your affirmations by yourself and to yourself. It will help you to say with more sincerity, and that will help you to heal. And then the last thing I want to say for those of y'all that are dealing with parental wounds is to understand that your parents are human.
That's fair to say.
And I know a lot of us don't want to have this conversation, but it's very important because you can do all the healing that you want internally. But if you still have that thought process that you have all this resentment that you're holding on for this parent, it's going to be hard for you to move forward. You can do all the healing that you want, but if you're holding on to that resentment, it's going to be very hard for you to move forward. So I want you to understand your parents are human and they made mistakes. The thing about therapy is that once I got into therapy, it helped me to realize how flawed my parents are, which was a great thing because I held them to this pedestal that really wasn't attainable for them. They're human beings. They made mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like my parents were immigrants. They came to the United States trying to figure it out along the way while having kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course they made mistakes.
Absolutely.
Of course they did some things that in hindsight they wish they hadn't, but they were doing the best that they could. I know some of you don't have that same reality with your parents. Some of your parents may not have done the best that they could. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is that holding on to resentment because of what they did is only stopping you from moving forward with what you need to do to actually heal. That's all I'm trying to get you to understand. The sooner you start to look at them as a human being, the sooner you start to forgive and give grace, the sooner you will heal. The sooner it'll be easier for you to move forward. The sooner it'll be easier for you to soothe yourself. You have to allow yourself to take them off of the pedestal that you had them on. And I know it's very hard. I know it's easier said than done. I know everybody doesn't have the same circumstance, but you holding on to that resentment is not serving you. It's not serving you. So speak to your inner child, reparent yourself, understand how your abandonment issues are manifesting in your life, and do the work to heal. And with that being said, I love y'all. I hope this video helps, man. Leave any comments that you want below. Let me know of any other topics that you want me to discuss. And as always, black man, it's okay to not be okay because it is. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. Shoulder to lean on somebody you could preach to. Know you need to hear it, my brother.